Well, it's quick. So. Thank you, Ms. Young Kimberly, for coming to the meeting this morning. All righty.
It's on the Chicago orders. This is a big deal. And it's like 99%.
Okay, if we can kind of gather ourselves together. Good morning, Madam Chairman.
Talking about
It is 11:03 on Friday morning, February 20th, 2026. I am Deborah Allen, Vice Chair of the Jobs Economic Development Committee. Our chairman, Anita Lewis, is an important player at the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry. And they have their big gala fundraiser coming up on Sunday, and she has some people who are ill. So she is subbing in for them at the pantry so they can recover so that the gala can go smoothly.
Good for her.
And that's why you're stuck with me. It is 11:04 and we will get going. And could you call the roll, please?
Abaticola.
Abaticola present.
Bates.
Bates here.
Hennessis.
Hennessis here.
Strathman. Young.
Here.
Allen.
Present.
All right.
We have a remote attendance request from Mr. Young. Is that acceptable to everyone that we have him as part of our program?
Make it so.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for attending remotely, Mr. Young. May I have a motion for unanimous consent of our minutes, our excellent minutes from January 16th, 2026. I think there was a time at the county when people did de minimis minutes, thinking that it was better to leave things out than to include things that might be controversial. But I really appreciate that we have minutes where you can almost be at the meeting. So thank you very much. May I have unanimous consent?
Hennessis will move for unanimous consent or approval of minutes of January 16th, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Pennis. Is there any objection or any correction?
No objection.
Okay, good. I am not aware of public comment.
David?
At this point, I think I'm going to turn us over to Mr. Toth. We are going to have a limited program today, and maybe you can tell us about it.
Absolutely. Chris Toth speaking, and thank you, Madam Chair Allen, today. You're doing a great job so far, so thanks for handing it off. The first item on our agenda, Kane County African American Business Spotlight. We, Chair Lewis and I had hoped to have a speaker here to speak on, being Black History Month and have a local business, but unfortunately that was not in the cards, so we do not have a speaker for item A today. So with your permission, I'd like to just move on to item B with the staff updates.
Okay. Can
Awesome.
we maybe have that program later?
Yes, we would love to have someone come in, and we're working on our March agenda right now because it's a quick turnaround. I think I'll see everyone again in 3 weeks. So we hope to have someone then.
Thank you.
So from my brief staff update today, just a couple items before I get into the unemployment data. One, work is still chugging along behind the scenes at the Kane County Economic Development Corporation. A lot of things to be hopefully announced in the coming months that we want to share with the committee, so please look forward to those. Board member Roth has asked me numerous times to put this together because this is something I used to do at Jobs Committee back in the 2023, 2024 time. So if you look up at the screen, you'll see the unemployment data table that I used to share. Just a couple quick notes on that. Number one, October was when the shutdown was. Our government decided that instead of trying to find that data out, we're just going to pretend like the month didn't exist. So we have everything for up to December for King County and Illinois. What's not on this table is the U.S. unemployment rate for January, which shot up 0.5% to 4.6%. So that's not good news. But as you can see, King County has actually been trending closely to Illinois through its time. But for some reason, we have a shot up in December of almost a over a percentage, which is highly unusual, but I always like to point out that I do not share seasonally adjusted numbers. I like the raw data from just the unemployment data that we get from the feds. So these are not seasonally adjusted. But just to give you an idea of the trends throughout the year of 2025. So this is Kane County's unemployment for 2025 from January all the way through. And you can see there's that gap in October. We were relatively stable through most of the late summer and fall months, but then sometime between November and December, something happened. The Illinois graph looks pretty similar in terms of its trending. Again, though, they not as sharp as Kane County's, but they have experienced some increased unemployment from November to December. And then just the U.S. national unemployment, again, just reflects a similar pattern where there's a gap in October, but when we hit November, December, it was actually a decrease nationally. But then I left January 2026 on here to show that, yeah, it's spiking up nationally as well. So we are not immune to national trends. I wish I had a better answer to explain why this is happening, but I can talk nationally that a lot of businesses in January, the AI hiring is starting to happen where AI is taking people's jobs in terms of data acquisition or technology programming. A lot of fields that businesses can integrate AI into their work, they are starting to do so. So we're starting to see that. But at the local level, unfortunately, I don't have a really good explanation why we're raising as fast or faster than everyone. It's just, it's of note because we are usually, Kane County follows the national trend. We're usually a couple percentage, or tenths of a percentage point ahead or behind the national average. So this is something atypical. And when we have the EDC up and running, I'd like to have some help with someone who's a little bit more on economic development data to help me kind of analyze why this is happening. But with that, I'll hand the microphone back over to Madam Chair Allen.
Okay. I just have a question. Elgin has a development group as part of its economic development strategy. And they send out to me every Friday a report frequently on, well, let's see, sometimes they talk about unemployment. Sometimes they talk about where our workforce comes from, how many of our workforce lives in town. Sometimes they talk about vacancy rates in office space. Sometimes they talk about vacancy rates in industrial space, any number of things. And my question for you is, who else gets this? Madam Chairman, do you get that report? It's every Friday.
Yes, I do. And once the EDC, and we are narrowing down on a director for the EDC. So the offers will be made sometime next week. Thank gosh for that. So we'll have a fully staffed office. But yes, I do get it every Friday as well. And I find it to be a very comprehensive regional report. This will be a little bit broader scope. And we do need to address to figure out what is going on now. I have a feeling that some of it maybe because of the ICE raids that were occurring, perhaps unemployment. I know it hit very hard on small businesses that people simply weren't going to work because of fear factor. And I'm not being political with that. That is a statement of fact. And that still continues. So that we may be impacted by some of that because we are a small microcosm, but a microcosm certainly in the Elgin and Aurora area. I don't know where the Tri-Cities are standing with any of that or Carpentersville. I've not seen that data, but AI, I think, is complicit with this. That is a national trend that is occurring. But once we get the director of the EDC on board, we will be able to do a little bit more specifically on what industry is being impacted here as regionally, because we do have regional people. People may live here in Kane and they'll file their unemployment here in Kane, but they may work in Cook or Kendall or McHenry. So we can kind of start figuring out where things are happening with the layoffs.
Okay. I was,
A
just-
reduction in workforce, I should say.
okay. Part of the reason I was asking was I was thinking everyone on this committee. I'm sorry.
Microphone, Mike,
Oh.
use your mic.
I'm sorry. I thought I was eating it.
Kiss
Um,
it.
Part of my reason for asking that question is I think everybody on this committee should get as much information as they can, including that. Chris, do you get that report every week?
I do not, but I. can-
Okay, so you should get it.
I actually, it's Carol Gieske from the Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce, which also was South Elgin, also represents South Elgin, which is the majority of my district. And I asked her about that. I said, I think everyone on the board should get this. I saw her last week, so hopefully she'll
Well, I'll
send out.
follow-
But she sends it out just to people who are in that district. That represent that district. So like, for example, village officials and county officials.
Uh,
I have
Ms.
a
Mathis.
comment. I've seen two surprising out of business signs in my observation in the last week or two. Crate and Barrel has taken their sign down from the store on Orchard. I mean, that was a big store. The one on Orchard, those words are off the wall.
Just the one on Randall Road
Madam Chair, go ahead.
is
Yeah.
also closed down.
Well, was that Randall or I mean Randall?
Oh, Randall. Okay. Oh, Randall, yes.
Yeah,
Geneva.
the one in Geneva is the when the letters come off the wall, you go, oh my gosh. And then there's a pretty popular taco place near my house that's, out of business. So are the retailers, I mean, on the way up here, Marketplace on NPR says, well, the rich people are still spending a lot of money and consumer spending is strong. I don't know who the rich people are or where they are, but
We
no-
aren't them.
I guess the rest of us are not buying it. I went to Crate and Barrel and I didn't like their stuff, so maybe they weren't changing with the times. That's a lot of shades of beige. I don't know, is retail in trouble?
The reason I know why, because I asked and I happen to like Crate and Barrel, is that the new owner of the mall, Geneva Commons, raised their rent and they felt that it was not a good investment for them to stay there.
For Crate and Barrel, that's the story?
That is the reason
wow.
why. So
Okay.
they've consolidated and they still have the store in Oak Brook and other areas.
Well, in Lincoln Park where my daughter lives, there's still a
I'm
store.
sure,
Okay, so
sure.
the rent goes up and the
And it,
stores leave.
so that's,
Mhm.
I'm not sure why the
Thank
rent
you.
went up. I have no idea.
I'm wondering if the rent is an issue, and Chris, you could answer this one too, but in Carol's last issue, she hasn't sent it out yet for this Friday, retail vacancy rates in Elgin went down and are near all-time historic lows in Elgin. The
The
current
vacancies are
for
low.
retail,
Okay.
4%. So I'm wondering if they're raising their, since they're so low that they're raising the rates and that people then are not gonna re-up for the
Okay.
rent since they're getting raised.
Oh.
Have you noticed
Supply
that?
and demand.
Christel speaking. I haven't noticed as much with retail as I've noticed with restaurants. Restaurants are having a specific pinch point right now. The fast food industry is going through a consolidation and closure. I know Wendy's is closing 100 stores. Just if you've ever read anything about Chipotle, they've done some interesting studies of their own customer base. They found out that 60% of their customers make over $100,000 a year. So their CEO's solution was to just raise prices because they have a market that can skew that way. Red Lobster is another Geneva Commons restaurant. I don't know if that one's going to be closing, but there's about 100 of those going to be closing. The restaurant industry is I have more concern with than retail right now, just locally, regionally, and nationally.
Yeah.
Mr. Roth.
Roth here. Chris, can we get unemployment down at the city level? Because that would help us, it went up to 5.8. Is it Aurora Elgin affected it? And at the point we're able to then report, here are all the businesses that closed that quarter or month versus open. There is an adjustment. I just saw an article the other day, Christmas sales are down in December. People decide not to spend. And also Walmart is up because more and more people are starting to go to Walmart.
That's a great question, Bill. We could work with World Business Chicago to extrapolate unemployment data at the local level. But the challenge would be the timing of it because it would be,
There's lags and stuff.
there'd be a lot of
Yeah,
lag on it.
yeah.
So we might be able to do more of a census track. I believe
Right.
that's what we could, but I don't know if it'd
Okay.
be just municipal boundaries only.
Okay. And then also, because I took multiple economic, there's about 8 different unemployment numbers.
Yes.
And I always laugh, politicians will use the ones that make them look good. And
No.
there's one, and sometimes gets very high. It's people that gave up looking.
Yep.
And so that they take it off unemployment. And then, and I don't know if it's an E7 or E8, they had numbers to them.
About 2 or 3 years ago, I did a presentation on all the different numbers because I was getting frustrated at the time that it's just a pick a number kind of
Right.
situation. But if the committee would like me to ever do that presentation, I'm glad to update it.
I would recommend, it would be educating the board
Yeah,
members.
just to talk about it because
Yeah.
we could use numbers any which way we want
Well,
to
yeah.
make a case.
And that's why economic people get paid a lot, because they make it look good no matter what.
We'll sign.
I'm joking.
All right. Mr.
brother
Toth,
is a
anything
comic.
further?
No, that is it. But moving forward, just as anyone like Bill had mentioned, if anyone has any other ideas or anything that they would like me to report to the committee in terms of explaining some of this, or I would be glad to put some things together if it's the committee's request.
Okay, we'll talk some more.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Young, there
Yes.
you are. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find you. Thank you.
Oh, that's
Mr.
okay.
Young.
Yeah, I
Please
had my hand up. I had a question.
Go right ahead.
So the whole reason for this committee to be in existence is to really just to keep the private sector jobs going and to improve and increase those jobs. I mean, that's what it was. That was a priority of our job committee. Now, my question is to Chris, is the employment rate, okay, that's the employment rate. I'd like to know going forward, jobs that are created within the county, what are they? Are they hourly wage jobs? Are they CEO level jobs paying $1 million a year? What are they exactly? I'd like to know that going forward too. Thank you.
If I may. Yeah, Dave, board member Young, that is a great question. And one of the things that the EDC would be best at tracking, John has put together an updated report of businesses that come in. I know that's easy to find the Warren reports that the state says when layoffs are coming. So it's easier to find out about jobs that are leaving than that are coming in. And one of the roles of the EDC will be to work with me and other partners in the county so that when a new business does come in, we can get more information about the jobs. Because most economic development organizations usually have a singular staff whose entire job is to compile that data, work with local partners and local municipalities and local EDOs to track that in real time as it comes in. And unfortunately, that's just always been a bandwidth issue with my work. It's just, it's a lot you have to have the connections and the constant updating with the partnerships to be able to track those numbers in real time. And usually if there's anything I can put together, it's a lag time of 3 to 6 months just because of the amount of work that's needed and the strength of our partners to share that data. So that's something, again, that we would love to work with the EDC as it ramps up to bring to the committee so you guys have that information.
Great.
And
Even if it's 6 months delayed, that would be still interest.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't John give us a little report, maybe in December, about new businesses that had opened up? I should have brought
Yes.
that in. I'm sorry I don't have it with me, but that was
Madam
real
Chair?
helpful.
Yes, they did, and that was my main reason for asking the question. Is it had a list of all these employers that had done expansions or planning to do expansions, but it didn't say what jobs were created and what type of jobs were created. So,
Okay.
like for example, let's say that there was a 300,000 square foot expansion on a warehouse. Great. I would imagine that that produced 0 to 2 jobs. So that's why I was asking is really was due to that report that we got a month or two ago.
Good. So we need more weeds. Good.
Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely,
Toth.
absolutely, David. And that's a great point because how one of the ways that John generates that report is he's just constantly scraping news reports, working with local partners and just getting those announcements in major and minor publications. And he's putting that together from the top level. So again, we would love to expand upon that. I just think we need we need the EDC's help to kind of drill down that information because I do agree that that's more relevant to how many jobs were created than how much square footage of a warehouse was.
Great. Good question, Mr. Young. Thank you. Yes, Madam Chairman.
I agree with Mr. Young. I think that, no, an excellent question. And we've been talking about, I'm pro solar, no arguing with solar. But if I can use that as an example, because that has been brought forward to our board several times now with development. Solar is big employment for installation. So we have a lot of short-term labor that installs it. And now, depending if it's over 3 megabytes of megawatts, whatever it is for power, they have to have prevailing wage labor. So we know that. That's new state law. But it's short term. So once the solar field is up, 20 acres, 40 acres, however much it is, it no longer employs. Because unless it's for landscaping, maintenance, but it's low employment, several employees, not many. The same thing that he just mentioned with warehouse, short term for construction, installation of the materials, supplies that's needed, and then very low employment. So as becomes more efficient with robotics, et cetera, you need fewer people to operate many more things.
Forgive my ignorance about this, but I thought if you have a warehouse, you were moving stuff in and out of there all the time.
Robotics.
Okay. Microphone, Mr. Shepro? Microphone?
Yep, I was just saying, I think when you look at how property classifications are, warehouse space is probably the lowest employment generator of almost any use you can think.
Okay.
Technical, because you have to have somebody who can operate the robots, but small staff rather than many staff.
Big space, few people.
Mhm.
Sure.
Well, I don't think that trend, what you're talking about too, is like, what is the growing businesses in our county? It's warehouses, possibly data centers, solar fields. 0 jobs out of all of those, really long-term jobs. I mean, that's why EDC and what we could do is try to, I hate to use the word poach, but look at some businesses that actually employ people to get them out to the go.
The only thing is I am a Pollyanna, I know, but the IMEC gathering that we had end of last year, I think, was just filled with new businesses, new ideas, young people getting help from our various entities to build their businesses. It was incredibly encouraging.
Yeah.
That Lighthouse program that we support, where people say, I've got this great idea, I've got this business, it's off the ground, it seems to be doing okay. What do I do now? I'm spending all my time in my factory, or all my time keeping my books, or all my time trying to think of the next thing. And we're able to help them
Those
grow
are
and build.
high-paying jobs too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mr. Roth?
Roth here. I brought up in the prior meeting energy. I don't know if you heard, if you listening. We were discussing energy audits. And it sounds like that's a pretty high paying job. I said, that sounds like a good job we should look at in jobs for creating jobs for people in Kane County. And then also certify, because they also brought up, well, if you go on the internet, you get a lot of not respectable firms that we would publish a list.
It's
And
always-
that's what we should be investing that money in, not doing 25 houses. Because it's growing, as Jody explained, it's a lot more complex than it used to be 20 years ago.
And it's
And,
always good to have a.
and
lessons
you
on
can
the wall.
get funding to help create jobs, and that's, you don't want to create a job that, you answer, oh, you want fries with that type of thing. That's the old joke with some jobs. And that's why I'm bringing it up now, because I think there's a good tie-in to jobs.
Well, this is a perfect handoff to our next topic, which is our workforce development folks. Do you want to say a few words? Actually, this committee has never had the chance to drill down on how workforce development operates from somebody coming in off the street saying, what do I do next? Or how do I get the credential I need? So if you're willing to talk about that over the next few months, that would be helpful to all of us.
Of course, I'm
It's a 3-county endeavor.
correct.
Kendall, DeKalb, and us, we are the lead. and-
Yes,
and
so
we carry the weight of it.
Kane
in other
County
words,
is the fiscal
You carry
agent.
the weight of it. Go.
Kane County is the fiscal agent for the federal WIOA programming that the Workforce Development Department oversees. That umbrella is divided up into specific target populations and entities. Within the WIOA funding, we work as a what is known as the One Stop, where we have the comprehensive One Stop, which is located in Batavia. And that is a entity that brings in partners across all 4 titles. So there's Title I, which is Adult and Dislocated Worker Services, which Kane County is the lead on. Title II is Adult Education, which is primarily comprised of our community colleges, Kishwaukee, Elgin, and Wabanzi, along with some community-based organizations that provide services in those areas, such as World Relief Aurora, Chinese Mutual Aid Society Elgin, YWCA Elgin. And so they make up part, Title II. Title III is Wagner Pizer, which is the Illinois Department of Employment Security. And then Title IV is Health and Human Services and VOC. And so at our One Stop, we have representatives from all of those titles that are represented on site at the One Stop. So an individual that walks in off the street is able to get immediate services in regards to looking for employment. If they have needs that can be addressed by any of those title partners, then they are directed to them in a referral process so that they can receive services between our partners. If during that initial triage, it shows that they qualify and that they're eligible for additional or more intensive services, that's when the other funding sources can come in, where an individual that is youth that is facing barriers to employment then can qualify for training dollars. They put together an employment plan. Their goal is to say, get into the transportation, distribution, and logistics sector. They want to get certified as a supply chain manager. We're able to work with them to align those trainings paid for through these grants so that they can get access to those careers and then move into those high needs sectors. That is true for the adult population. There are specific qualifications in order to qualify for those grants. And then that third pool in that grouping is the dislocated worker, which is either an individual that's unemployed or underemployed. One of the growing sectors is that dislocated worker, where we see individuals that say we're maybe in an IT field making a 6-figure salary, but now are working in customer care and making $60,000. They would qualify as a dislocated worker. And then the third grouping is our direct business services, where we work with area employers. We partner across the 3-county area to provide services to area employers to help offset the costs of onboarding new employees. In the case of expansion of services, or say a local employer is bringing on a new department, we're able to help offset those training costs for that new employer by providing access to these federal and state grants that they can get access to. Within that business services or industry partnerships realm, there are multiple different facets that we bring to bear in regards to, as we are part of that rapid response team when we do hear about layoffs or, unemployment, but those are typically limited to larger employers. We don't get notices, when smaller employers or small businesses are struggling. And so we're definitely looking at how we can partner with all of our small business development centers throughout the 3-county area to be more responsive to the small business owners, and how we can leverage our services or the access that we have to federal and state grants to be able to offset some of those, because we know how important the small business owner is to our community, and where that incubator can be, very, important to economic growth. So really that's the crux of all of the different areas that fall under the Workforce Development Department.
This is great stuff. Mr. Roth is not here to ask the question, so I'm going to do it for him. And that is, will there be a time when you could actually, how many individuals came in? How many individuals are getting schooling? How many individuals actually got a job?
Yeah.
That kind of data filled in here and there?
Yes, we have that, there has been a lapse in the reporting that we brought to this committee, and I will make sure that those reports will be brought to the board regularly as they are developed. We track that daily, monthly. It's part of the requirement for the grants, which obviously when you're dealing with any federal grant, that the reporting is quite extensive. So we track every aspect of that. And then, we partner extensively as well, where we're able to subgrant to various entities throughout the 3-county area to provide these services as well. So even the comprehensive one-stop is located in Batavia, but we do have service entities in DeKalb County, Kendall County. We subgrant with all 3 of the community colleges to provide direct services. A lot of the funding that comes through this program then gets dispersed out into the communities to help enhance various different programming, from youth internships, on-the-job training, workforce development programs, apprenticeship programs. All of these are coordinated through a lot of the resources that come in through our office and then are redistributed out through the 3-county area.
Well, we love data and anecdotes. A number of years ago, a large company in Carpentersville named Auto Engineering said that they were able to take advantage of a program. They have, I think, very sophisticated machinery, and they were able to use some of our money to subsidize the training of new people so that they didn't have to bear the whole weight of that. And then those new people turned into regular employees. And just because of this particular company,
Yes.
they also did a lot of work with housing in the area, so their employees could practically walk to work. And it was just a really nifty congealing of opportunities and our funding and our goals all coming together to make stuff work.
Yes, ma'am. And that happens regularly. Right now, we're working with Wise Plastics in St. Charles for a similar program. We just got that approved through the state for a $29,000 grant to be able to assist them in their upskilling and training of their employees. So it's a continuous process that we're continually working with various employers. One of the big initiatives that is really one of the things that we're focusing on now is that, and Chris can probably attest to this, that a lot of the entities that work in the workforce development space, are almost like islands. They're operating for various different programs, both federal, state, and there are just so many players in this space, and the level of communication oftentimes between all of them is not great, and it's not, I don't think, for anybody personally saying, well, I'm not going to work with them. It's just everybody gets caught up in their own kind of worlds and the focus. We were talking about that before with the unemployment data. I get a regular drip from the Illinois Department of Employment Security as to what's happening regionally and locally. And then, relying on that data, but then we have the experts that are able to come in and drill down into that even more focused on Kane County to actually show, because the data that we're receiving from, the feds and from the state are lagged behind, which, when you're working with workforce development and moving at the speed of business, we need to have that information so that we can move quicker to be able to provide some of these interventions. As we're on this WARN system through the state, there's a lag. That's, so working with, we have at our location in Batavia, we have a representative from the Department of Economic, Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Joe's there. We meet daily talking about what he's getting from the information that he's getting. We have representatives from IMEC, which is the Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center, meeting weekly, just talking about what they're seeing and looking at what data points we can track on our end to be able to look at businesses that from their financial reporting may be in distress before it ever comes out to those WARN issues, and being that much more proactive and being able to get out there and meet with them and say, hey, we noticed this on your financial reportings to the state. It could indicate two things. Either they're, leveraging financing to be able to bring on, a new manufacturing process or a new entity within their business, which is great because we can come in and say, hey, we can help offset some of those costs for bringing that on. Or looking at the financials that they're reporting to the state, it may indicate that they are in financial exigency. And then we can get to them to maybe provide some of these resources or help before it gets to that WARN system, which, as we saw in the data, is oftentimes delayed. So really trying to find that way where we can work between the government grants and moving at the speed of business, but also being able to kind of bridge those two. So it's something that we are very focused on.
Thank you. Madam Chairman.
When I was speaking to the board last time we had our board meeting, I mentioned that the board as a whole has not been focused on economic development. I've not seen that. And now, because of talented staff that has been hired and the development of the economic development organization and the potential new hire of our director with that, that is going to be a really important part of Kane County. That synergy is going to be happening. However, the board has never addressed, to my knowledge, opportunities to help instill financial benefit to new companies. Whether we don't have TIF districts, we don't do TIF districts in unincorporated. I'm not saying that we should, but I would like to know if there is a way with jobs to start developing a portfolio. If a company comes in, how can we support them economically to get their feet off the ground? We know that our municipalities do that. Elgin does that on a regular basis, as does Geneva, as does St. Charles, as does Aurora, sort of right now, but traditionally has. I'm sure South Elgin does the same, but Kane County has never led in that direction. So I would like to have that opportunity to further investigate that. And I would ask Chris, if perhaps, and our finance director, Kathleen, if they can start moving that forward, just to make the board aware. It's up to the board's decision if they would like to do this, absolutely. But just to make them aware of what opportunities may be available or what we could potentially pursue going towards the future.
Good suggestion.
Thank you. Along with Madam Chair's comments, do you spend time on cluster companies and the impact they have, like Flender, Tesla up in Elgin, or Richardson Electronics, and the work that they're doing and what they attract on your team? Do you spend time talking about cluster companies?
Most of the stuff that we really, we break everything down by sectors, based upon the different areas that we're focusing on. So right now we're finalizing that our local plan. So we're constantly looking, we have a regional plan with all of the different economic development organizations. We are the furthest west, so we are part of a regional working group that goes from DeKalb County to Chicago, Kankakee, and up. We're the Northwest region. So we've developed our regional plan focusing on specific sectors that are highlighted in that regional plan. And then from that regional plan, we put together our local plan, which incorporates the 3-county area. And that gets more and more granular. And so when we're looking at specific things like, individual companies, for instance, Tesla, we used to report out like what every individual company we would work with. We would report out, we're working with General Mills, we're working with Columbia, now they want us to speak more to how we are affecting general industries. And so when you speak of like cluster companies, more focusing on what within those sectors. So within one company, they could be affecting multiple different sectors, which, transportation, distribution, and logistics, manufacturing, tech. And so instead of focusing, we kind of group everything by sectors, and that's really where it's going. But part of that too is this bigger consortium that we're trying to put together, a regional industry partnerships consortium where we have entities at Elgin that are doing amazing work in workforce development and working with individual companies. We're doing the same thing with Waubonsie. Then you have, the Northern consortium that was here and talking about their youth, on the job training program. So all of these entities, we need to bring them all together and begin to coordinate more as to how we're addressing those needs of those individual employees. But we're focused more on kind of targeting entities as a whole and trying to see, okay, we've got this X number of openings in transportation, distribution, and logistics. How can we align the way that we're providing resources to our partners, to individuals that come into the center, to be able to address those specifically? Like you have somebody comes in and, I want to get into the healthcare field, then we help them drill down and partner them. And we're targeting very specific employment sectors that are in our high needs area, which in our area is predominantly in Kane, is manufacturing, healthcare, education. Kendall, predominantly manufacturing right now, high level retail, construction. DeKalb, transportation, distribution, and logistics is their number one needed areas in those sectors. So that's kind of how we're approaching all of our outreach to employers in targeting those high needs areas. If that answered your question. Sorry,
Yeah,
I kind of
that's okay.
little circuitous
Yeah,
route.
Thank you. And then Mr. Toth, just a quick, if I had a question before, can I ask that question?
Microphone.
Yeah, okay. Historically speaking, year over year in the month of December. So I know, I understand that concrete and asphalt could be poured until about December 8th. Would those numbers be reflected in the unemployment numbers in December? And that is, they were able to pour so much longer this year because of the weather, well into, the first week of December, which I don't think historically is. And so that is one example, and I'm not just talking about concrete and asphalt, but there are other sectors where they were able to work longer into December than normal. Would that have affected the number, or do I not see that correctly?
No, that's a great question. That would have an effect. In the seasonally adjusted numbers, you would see industries, they would have changes to their measurements based upon changes in the season, weather affectations, or anything that could have affected, those seasonal jobs. So yeah, it probably did have some sort of measurable impact. It's just with the data that we have, it's hard to get down to that granular level to see exactly how much, but yes, it did make an impact. And anytime we have a longer season for growing, anytime we have a longer, warmer season for construction, if anyone's been out on 38 and you've seen how they've had to pop up and go because of the weather, I mean, yes, to answer your question, yes, it does have an effect. The challenge we have is finding how measurable that impact is.
Just along with the rest of the board, it would be awesome to see a dashboard.
Okay.
Comparing the different verticals. And with year over year data, right? The data only tells a story when you can compare it and see it contextually. And so I think that would be super helpful
Absolutely.
to have a dashboard approach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Um,
No one's here.
we're almost done here. I'm going to just, Blair, would you hold that for the next meeting? Okay. May I have a motion to put, a motion for unanimous consent to put our reports on file?
Do you
I'm
have
going to
one?
leave that to John to move.
Want to do your first?
So motion. There you go.
Let the record reflect, Mrs. Pola has moved to put our reports on file by unanimous consent. Thank you. Unless there's any objection, which there's not. Anything more for the good of the order? Thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend. Spring is still around the corner, even if we don't believe it right now.
Doesn't feel like it.
I may have a motion to adjourn.
Genesis will move to adjourn.
Sadako seconds and
Yes, ma'am.
favor, aye.